The COVID-19 pandemic has forced schools around the world to take their classrooms online. Both students and teachers are learning to make use of the various virtual tools and platforms as social distancing measures continue and school semesters continue to be postponed.
For some parents, distance learning seems impractical. They worry about having to spend more time and money on their children's education.
Education continues because of online classes, because it is hindered by the pandemic.
Of course, online classes has its advantages, but if I had to choose one, I would choose face-to-face for sure. After all, I became a teacher because I wanted to work with people and not computers.
I actually prefer online class because no need to travel all the way to school and come back. It takes a long time.
I'd actually like to see both things happening because there are advantages for a face-to-face class as well as an online class.
Being a lecturer, of course, I'm more happy to be face-to-face so that students can express themselves clearly. Rather than online, sometimes people tend to restrict their opinions and you kind of, it's more difficult to encourage them to speak up.
I prefer face-to-face class because it's actually more exciting, more engaging. You get to interact with your friends, your lecturers, your teachers, and there's none of the problems that come with online learning as well.
You don't have to deal with like connectivity issues or even just a quick latency. That few milliseconds even really changes the conversation. Like you have to wait and you're not even sure if you're being heard.
When it comes to me as an educator, I would prefer now because at least I can be anywhere, so I'm not tied up to the lecture room.
I definitely prefer a face-to-face class compared to online class. There's so much more that we can do face-to-face rather than online.
I would say that the classroom environment now online is more relaxed, but also at the same time stressful because you're relaxed. You don't have to worry so much about, getting ready in the mornings, and then you don't have to worry about how you look. Basically, you can just turn off your video and all that. But stressful in a sense where you can't really catch some of the things that are being said because of the cliche reason, which is poor connection. Doesn't matter if it's from my side or from the lecturer's side.
Online is easier simply because you have access to the recordings, and if you ever find yourself questioning like, what did he teach or did I miss something, you can always look back into the recordings and rewatch it again.
Definitely more challenging now to teach and to learn, just because that I believe that a teacher-student relationship is a very personal relationship. So instead of having to interact with that actual person, you have to interact through the webcam and the video screen. So it's very detached, and I think that makes it more difficult to learn.
My main struggle for me when moving to the online environment, I don't have a reliable gauge anymore on how much the students are learning in my class.
For me personally, was internet connectivity. That was one struggle. I was relying on hotspot till the end of my degree. Sometimes classes would be super laggy. I could not even hear what my lecturer is saying at some time.
Is my connection okay? Can you hear me?
They are there, but getting them to speak up can be a challenge.
It's more like one-way communication now.
In the past, schools, students, and teachers were somewhat reluctant to embrace technology and ICT online learning as an alternative. But now with this pandemic, it forces us to adapt to it whether we like it or not.
So the first challenge, of course, the one that's really sad is that not everybody's on board.
I think here in Singapore, we're quite lucky to have internet access.
Overall, I do not think it's hindered. In fact, I think that it has probably made so many things easier.
Education continues because of online classes, because it is hindered by the pandemic. So as a teacher, I'm happy that we have this alternative way of being able to still teach our students. And I think students, as challenged as they are, appreciate that we are still able to, in some way, in some shape or form, continue with classes rather than everything being paused.
I do think that this current way of learning, this online learning and everything, is definitely going to impact the future generation. This online learning, it restricts them to do so much of things. They do listen, they do understand, but what happens to their soft skills? their communication skills and everything. How are they going to take those skills when they go out in tertiary or when they start working? How are they going to imply those skills that they need to imply? Because everything now is just listening. You don't exactly speak. You have this generation who is glued to their computers for literally everything.
It is in challenging times that we see true humanity coming out, the true human nature, like the police, religious leaders, businessmen. They have all come together regardless of background to overcome this pandemic, to overcome these challenges of online learning. So I believe that it is not a big problem. We can overcome this.
But now the challenge is you having to design it, you having to choose, find, put them together, piece them together. When do I bring technology in? When do I bring the hard copy in? So that one is the challenge, and I think it's really exciting that way. So all of us will have to keep abreast with what is happening, the changes that are taking place, and how to make it more exciting and fun for the children in the classroom.
Oh, I think that's gonna be a future that I'm very interested to find out as well.